right, good morning. I am Mrs. Rafin, and welcome again to Business and Computers. This video is meant to help you through the Google Docs Activity 1 assignment. There will be a separate one for Activity 2. I have gone ahead and opened period 2 again, and I am hovering over this description of the assignment. I did put everything into Google Drive as a PDF. The assignments are both due next Tuesday, March 24th. But if you get a little bit behind, just make sure you get them done and share them to me as quickly as possible. All right, as it says here, the first 20 pages of the PDF are meant to help you with anything you don't know how to do in Google Docs. Now, going back through, I realized that there have been some updates. So I felt like it was necessary to make the video to show you where some of the things have migrated. You're going to choose for this activity between the 3 topics: Google, web design, or computer crime. You're going to include pictures and information about what you researched. And like I said, I'm going to come back for Activity 2 and talk about that separately. So if you want, you can open the PDF and look through it and see if there's anything you didn't already know how to do. For our purposes, I'm going to scroll fairly rapidly. Occasionally, you might have a preview file that doesn't want to open. I've had that happen off and on. I just close it and come back later, and it eventually will rectify itself. So I'm trying to get down here to where the activities actually show up. And this is the set of instructions for the first activity that I'm going to be going through. You might want to print off these 2 pages. It would be pages 31 and 32. And technically, when you go to print, you can actually tell it to print, depending on where this is in your printer settings, more than 1 page per sheet. So you could do that, and it would put it all on the same sheet. If you tell it to print a certain range of pages, you can do that as well. By going up here to custom. So if I just wanted to print pages 31 and 32, then I could look at those and not have to just be in here. I'm not going to do that right now, but again, that's something that I would probably suggest for you. All right, so I'm just going to go back here. I'm going to go back to the assignments page so that I can just start manipulating different tabs here. All right, you can see that I am logged into my account. So the Google Apps, sometimes we call it the waffle, just because it looks a little bit like that, are over here. And in order to be able to create a new Google Doc, you want to go there. Look over here at the top left-hand corner and click on New, and then choose a Google Doc. Now, this isn't in the set of instructions, but the first thing I would do is just title this Activity 1 so that you don't forget and it doesn't come through to me as untitled. All right, and I'm just going to go through the set of instructions. At this point, I'm assuming that you have printed them and that you even are looking back and forth at the example. Now, the example was done using information about the company Google. I'm going to do some stuff on web design just because I went ahead and pre-opened some things to save some time. So the first thing it says is to create the title BTT word processing in 24-point impact font at the top of the document. Now, I've had one person tell me they couldn't find this, but you should be able to go up here and you should be able to click on the drop-down menu next to Arial, which is our default font here. You should be able to scroll down and find Impact and choose it. If for some reason your Google Docs don't automatically have Impact, just find a font that is sans serif, meaning lacking feet, just like this one is. And that way it's easy to read. Everything else should fall in place for you. You should be able to choose 24 point, no problem. So we're going to type that title. And you will hear me doing this as well as seeing me doing it. All right, the next set of instructions asks us to go to the next line and type your first and last name in 18-point Verdana font. Most people, I don't think, have been having any issue finding Verdana. Everything's alphabetical, so I'm just going to the bottom there. I'm going to make sure I go ahead and change it to 18 point before I start typing. And I'm just going to type my own name and then hit enter. So now I've checked off the first 2 lines. The third set of instructions asks me to center and bold the title and my name. So I'm going to select all of these. I did that by left-clicking my mouse, and then I just slid it all over both lines and then let go, and it has highlighted both lines. If you've never done that before, you might have to practice a couple of times. Sometimes people click too late and end up dragging things onto other lines that they didn't mean to. If that happens to you, simply go here and click on undo. Undo should be one of your best friends when using any type of program like this. That way you don't have to start over or be completely frustrated all the time. So I'm going to again highlight this or select it. Some people call it highlighting. And I want to center it. If you go up here, you can see that this is left align, which it's already sitting at. This is center. This is right align. So depending on what you're asked to do, that's where you find those different alignments. So I'm going to click on center because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to leave it highlighted, and then I'm also going to go over here. This is bold, this is italicize, and this is underline. So I want bold. I'm going to click the B. There are shortcuts for those. If you already know those, feel free to use them. I'm now going to hit enter, and I'm going to go ahead and click bold again, so I take that bold off. And it says now on number 4, I need to create a table that is 2 columns and 4 rows. Now this was one of the things that migrated. There used to be a tab up here that said table, but now they've tried to make things a little bit more efficient by placing them under other tabs. So if you go to insert, you will now find table. I'm just hovering. I haven't clicked anything yet. It asked me to click create a table that is 2 columns and 4 rows. So when you see 1 by 1 down here at the bottom, whoops, I changed it. That just means 1 column by 1 row. So if you want 2 columns, you have to go over 1. And if you want 4 rows, you have to go down 4. So now you should see 2 by 4. That does represent 2 columns and 4 rows. If you have 4 by 2, you have 4 columns and 2 rows. If you look at the example that was provided, you will see that when you click on the 2 by 4, you should have a very similar looking table. It's not as expanded because you haven't placed anything into it. This is pre-formatted for you so that as you add things, it will grow with the size of what you're putting in there. All right, the next thing that I have to do is enter information and pictures about Google, computer crime, or web design. Make sure you're only focusing on one of those topics and not all 3. So like I said, I went ahead and made the decision to go with web design. What I'm doing now is selecting all of those different cells in the table so that I can change it to Times New Roman. I'm going to leave it at 18 point. If that seems like it's too big, I may go back later and change it. So here I'm going to center this upper right hand cell, and I'm going to say web design. Okay. Now this is where I have done a little bit of work ahead of time to help you not have to just sit and wait on me. So I did do a web design search, and that's where I've gone to look for some pictures. All I did was click after I hit web design on images, and it brought up all of this. Now I kind of like this picture, and I kind of like this picture. So I'm going to right click on this one, and I'm just going to copy the image because it's saying it's going to allow me to. Then I'm going to go back to my activity, and I'm going to put this picture into this second cell on the right by right clicking and choosing paste. Now I'm going to go back over here to my web design tab. I'm going to see if I can find anything smaller. All of this seems rather large, and that's okay. It may cause your assignment to travel onto a second page. And if that happens, that's fine. I'm going to see how big this particular picture image ends up being. I'm going to copy this one. Please do not feel like you have to recreate everything I'm doing. Again, I right-clicked. That gave me this menu. I'm clicking on paste. If you want to add any other pictures, that's fine. I'm going to stop at that because it's, again, making my table rather large. I could have also gone over here to insert. If I had wanted to save the pictures, I could insert an image. But for me, it was faster just because it allowed me to copy the image. I didn't have to go through a bunch of extra steps. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I've opened this particular Adobe Blog, and it's called A Comprehensive Guide to Web Design. So I figured they'd have some pretty good information on web design. I went ahead and scrolled down and found some information ahead of time, as I said, so that you don't have to sit through any longer of a video than this is already going to be. And I found this interesting statement that navigation is a cornerstone of usability. So I'm going to do some copying and pasting, and I'm going to make sure at the end of this that I give credit where credit is due. So I've got this highlighted or selected. I'm going to right click and copy. I'm going to go back to my table. I clicked into the cell, and then I right clicked, and now I'm going to paste. And oops, sorry. I'm going to choose each of these bullet points. I'm going to right click and copy. I'm going to click, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to paste. I'm just going to keep things simple for myself. I'm not tremendously worried about the content you choose as long as it appears to be something that might have taught you something and it's useful for the project. I normally wouldn't suggest going to Wikipedia, but if you do find a Wikipedia article that has some information that seems relevant, definitely use it and give credit to the page. All right, so again, I'm just trying to make things quick. And I think what I'm going to do here is add into this particular cell where I got that information. So I'm going to go up here to the URL. When I clicked on it, it did select the whole thing. If it doesn't do that for you, you can double click and it should do that. You might have to try that a couple times before it selects everything. Now I'm going to copy that web address. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to paste it. That way I've given credit to where I found my information. Okay. All right. What I will say that now it looks a little bit off if I don't put a picture. So I'm going to go back over here and just find something. This one looks sort of cool. Again, to me, this is more about you showing that you know how to use the tools and how to create a Google Doc. So I'm not too worried about that. All right. Now I'm going to click here and it should let me outside of this. Okay. I'm going to undo that. Oh, okay. I remember. There we go. So what I did there was I actually used my arrow keys to get down there past the table. And now I want to left align because everything else that's supposed to be on there is supposed to be left aligned. All right. And so I'm going to create the subtitle, pause before you post. And I'm just trying to type it exactly as it looks. So all of those were capitalized. And then it looks like below this, I'm supposed to type 2 spaces below that, before I make a post. I pledge to ask myself, and I'm adding an ellipsis to show that there's more to come. And then I'm supposed to add some bullets. All right, so you can come up here to this area and you can see that you can add numbers or you can add bullets here. If you just click on this, it's going to give you your generic everyday bullets. If you're asked to do any other kind of bulleting, you can click on the drop-down menu and find other types of bullets if you need. But I'm just going to go with the generic ones that show up for me. And I'm going to create these bullets that say who will be able to see what I post. Question mark. The next one, will anyone be embarrassed or hurt by it? And the next one is, am I proud of what I'm posting? And then how would I feel if someone posted about me? Okay. All right. I don't think I'm going to need Spellcheck, but you can go to Tools and you can check the spelling and grammar. If nothing is wrong, it'll say document looks good. If something is wrong, it'll pull it up over here for you to fix. All right, so the next thing I need to do is change the page margins to 1.5 all the way around from the top to the bottom. All right, I'm probably just going to have to edit that. All right, so you want to go to File. You want to go to Page Setup. Here you will find the margins over here. And again, we want to change that so that all of the margins are 1.5 all the way around. So you can just click next to it and add a 0.5 each time. And then you can hit OK. And you'll see that it became more narrow through here. It did push this down, and that is totally okay. Although I'm going to go in here and clean it up a little bit by bumping that down a little bit so it doesn't look messy. Anyway, so if yours traveled and onto a second page, that's fine. And if it split the table a little bit, I'm okay with that.